From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey, everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief digital strategist at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, I have my good friend Cami MacNamara with me. And Cami and I are going to talk about why client communication is important and how to do it. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. This episode is brought to you by All-in-One WP Migration, the most trusted WordPress migration plugin with over 60 million sites served. Whether you are switching hosts, changing domains, or moving to a new server, All-in-One WP Migration makes it one click. Try it for free at WordPress.org or visit servemass.com for pro features. Hey, everybody, Rob Cairns here, and today I've got my good friend, Miss Cami MacNamara with me. Hey, Cami, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Rob. I'm happy to see you. It's been a while since we chatted.
Yeah, it's always been a while. You know what it is? We all get busy in this world, and
That's
people
right.
think, oh, Zoom calls, no problem. Well, I got to tell you, when you're dealing with clients all day and other stuff all day, it's still a problem. I hate to tell you some days.
It is.
So,
Well, it's nice to actually get a chance to sit down and talk to a friend instead of putting
mhm.
out fires all day long, which is what we're normally doing.
Yeah, it's the nature of what we do. But that leads me, you put out a newsletter, I guess it's about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And anybody who's in the agency space and not reading Cami's newsletter, what my first question is, why not? And then my second question is, get on over there and get on it like now or yesterday, because yours comes out. I was going to say like clockwork, but I was going to tease you a little bit. Clockwork, except when there's stuff going on pretty well early Monday morning. Is a good
Yes,
way of putting
yes.
it.
I have had to make a few adjustments. It's normally at 5:42 a.m.
Yeah,
is when I
which is
schedule it to go out. But there have been a couple of newsletters that went out closer to 8:30 in the morning,
yeah,
just because I work on Sundays. I work on it's webdesignerhabits.com is where you sign
yeah,
up, and that is an extra event for me because I'm working, and so I have to
yeah, no.
working on the newsletter. And sometimes, if things go south on a Sunday, it's happening on Monday morning.
Yeah. This
So
is why I write mine 3 and 4 days ahead of time because I know, to be fair, it's with all content. I know if I'm sitting around the night before and this has to go out tomorrow morning because I've made a commitment, I'm not going to do it. So I write them.
right.
I mean, I look, as you know, I write a Substack, and often the podcast is in the Substack. And my podcast Substack, even for tomorrow and Friday, are already done and scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
So there,
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly
Well,
why.
I have a lot of recycling happening because this is my
Yeah,
third year of doing it, but I do come up
yeah.
with 16 new habits every single year. And so that's where my schedule gets a little off.
No, I understand. I understand that, to be fair. Um, but out of that newsletter, you hit a conversation, and I was reading it and saying, oh, I haven't had Cami back on the show. I need to have Cami back on the show. And you were talking about client communication. And
Yes.
and this is always in sync with me because one of the things I do in my business is I've got the Substack, which is a general anybody who subscribes to, and then I have a private client only newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same. I also have a client only newsletter.
and I started that long time ago because I have, as of the last count, about 600 and I'm just thinking 20 odd sites on the security care plans. So all I do for them is I look after the security, the backups. And one of the things I always say to people is out of sight, out of mind. It's not a good idea. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting recurring revenue. Yet they're paying me yearly. They're paying you now yearly, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens when they audit through their statements and say, I wonder why I was paying webcammy $50 a month. I didn't talk to webcammy all year. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't hear from webcammy all year. Is that a good
Mm-hmm.
idea?
No, and I remember back in the old days when I started my business, and there were times when
Yeah.
I was working on projects, and I would be so focused on the projects I was working on that I was neglecting the clients. And this was before care plan days. And so
Hmm.
when I developed the care plan and I send a monthly report, I use managed WP. And when I schedule a monthly report that has some custom information in it in their custom work field for each client. I started to notice that when I send that report out, a lot of clients will be like, "Oh, hey, this reminded me I need this done." And I'm like, "Oh, this is good because they know that I'm doing something for them." But
Yeah.
it still wasn't covering all the other things I needed to talk to them about. So I started a monthly newsletter. And that was just more or less at first, I was trying to like educate them and put like five different things in there. And now it's just a single message and maybe a link to my latest blog post or maybe an offer for, some sort of strategy session,
Hmm.
those types of things. So they get the care plan report on the 10th of the month, they get my newsletter. And so when my parents were ailing, it became an update about my parents. And I think
Yep.
that people hesitate to put personal information in their newsletter, but your clients love to know about your life. I think it makes you a human that's helping them with their website versus just some tech provider that they're not connected to.
Yep.
So that's a huge tip. But having a client newsletter has been a really great way for me to like I'm going to press conf tomorrow. All my clients have been had a note about that in the newsletter since January.
Hmm.
Hey, upcoming travel. I always put that in there, and it's also a really good way to reach them in an emergency if you have your tags working properly, if a certain
Hmm.
host is having an outage, you can hit that tag, send a newsletter to just those people. So I utilize it for that as well.
Yeah, I do too. It was funny, and you say you're going away. For example, we just came out of Easter weekend, and I don't know if you
Hmm.
know, but in Canada, Good Friday is actually a statutory holiday. So
Oh, wow.
I
I didn't know that.
always always has been. So in the States, some people get it off, but most of you work in the States. In Canada, it's a federal holiday. So we're generally closed now. I worked a bit on Friday just because I've got to play catch up. But I'll put that in and I'll send a reminder out to clients a week beforehand and say, just as a reminder, I am closed Friday. It is a Canadian statutory holiday and keep that in
Hmm.
mind. But I'm also reachable in an emergency and I remind things. I know like this weekend, as I say, as I was sharing with you before the show, I'm basically unavailable all weekend. And
Hmm.
I will send out a reminder tomorrow night just saying, by the way, except for dire emergencies, I'm away this weekend. Just
Hmm.
and it just keeps the communication open. It doesn't take much. It's actually really easy to do.
Yeah, I put an autoresponder on every Friday at 4 p.m.
I know
that
you
says
do.
I'm closed for the weekend. And I also like at the I'm going to a conference, I'll have an autoresponder and it always says if your website is down. It's like the term emergency doesn't
Yeah.
always mean emergency. An emergency to them is not always an emergency.
No,
So
I
I
know.
like,
I know.
in an emergency, meaning your website is down, please text me. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of how I deal with that. But I think the more you kind of make sure you're available. I mean, one of the things that I'm working on this year is I have so many clients that need a redesign that like I'm kind of dividing that out and reaching out in batches in case they all want a
Mm.
redesign. So I'm trying to hit 5 clients a month with an email that says, "Hey, FYI, it's been 5 plus years. I'm having trouble updating your PHP, a few things like that. I think we should schedule a quick call to talk about a redesign."
Yeah.
So I do phone calls. I don't know about you, but I know that my clients, a lot of them don't want to hop on Zoom. Having a quick 15-minute call is a great way for me to get a conversation started. So I am available for that. I know a lot of people don't want to do phone calls, but for my clientele, which is all like really small business owners and nonprofits, they tend to like to have a phone call every now and then.
It depends on the client for me, to be fair. I
Hmm.
do some on Zoom. I did a group call with a political group I do work for a couple months ago. I had 8 people because people wanted to chime in. So we that makes sense to do a Zoom. Some stuff I like to do a Zoom just for it's
Yeah,
easier to
I agree.
record.
It,
It's
meet
easier
them
to
however
record.
they're comfortable. Hmm.
Yeah. I know if it's a coaching call, I'll always do it on Zoom. I won't do partially because I want to give the client the recording. It's just
Right,
easier.
a tutorial. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But generally it doesn't matter. Like it's just potato. Some like quick calls. I've got a client that I'm doing a quick call with tomorrow morning. So it all depends. But the key
Hmm.
is it's not the medium as much as, and it's not even if you get them on that call, it's, hey, I'm here and I'm not hiding. And I
Hmm.
know there's people who do what we do, who have lots of care plans, and they're still in that mode. Oh, I didn't hear from them. Great, I'm making all this money. Yeah, you're doing well this year, but I don't think you're going to do as well next year.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think it's about availability.
Yeah.
So, they just I have clients that reach out to me who, the domain name of America or letter that goes out where people are
Yep.
scamming to get, yeah. And I probably get 2 emails a month from various clients that are like, "Cami, is this real?" Like,
Mhm.
no, it's not. Here's my blog post about that. And it makes me feel like I'm doing something right when I know they reach out to me and they know I'm the person that they can turn to for those kinds of questions. And I try to respond to those emails pretty quickly. I'm also a believer in not responding immediately to every email you get. You know
I know
that.
you are.
I don't do that, but yeah, I think just keeping a conversation going with your clients is a good thing to do.
Yeah. I don't respond to every email right away either. And part of that is we've got other work to do. So,
Hmm.
and you are a bit more organized than most agencies. I'll tell you that now. People aren't as organized as you are. I'm probably in the same mess. So I don't live on email. And the ones that drive me nuts, frankly, are the ones who say, "Oh, I sent you an email 10 minutes ago. Why haven't you given me an answer?" Well, I've got other things to do. I'm on the phone with clients. I've got a personal life in the middle of it all. If it's at night, I've got this, I've got that. And just because we have a cell phone in our hand or at arm's length doesn't mean we have to always be available. And that's a problem too. So,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I kind of go over that when I'm onboarding a client.
yeah, so do I.
My clients are pretty good about knowing that occasionally if they have what they feel is an emergency and I haven't responded quick enough, I have trained them to like, "Hey, if you don't hear from me, go ahead and send me a text." right? If it's an emergency. Um, and they're all pretty good at that. But how you kind of get them used to that is to never reply to them within 10 minutes if it's not that dire
Yeah, yeah.
situation. So I use Mixmax, which allows me to go ahead and type out the email instantly, but I can schedule it to go out during
Hmm.
one of my email windows. And that is kind of like the best tool I know of to do that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of email tools will let you that. Even Fastmail in their native scheduling will let you say, okay, send
Yeah.
this when schedule it when you want. And I'm notorious. I'll write emails at night just to catch up if I'm not doing anything, or Tiz and I aren't doing anything, or if I'm just playing catch up. And I guarantee you, I will never, unless it's an emergency, send an email at night. I'll schedule
Yeah,
it
me
at 8
either.
o'clock the next morning. It's a bad idea.
Yes, Sunday is my catch-up day, and I always am scheduling them to go out at 9 a.m. on Monday morning because that's what my hours are. I also
Right.
put in my email signature that any emails after 11 a.m. on Fridays may not be read until Monday morning because Friday
Mhm.
afternoons I've got some serious admin to do, and so I'm not just not going to be answering
Yeah.
emails at 4:30 on a Friday.
And the reality is, even if you did, Cammy, your clients are probably checked out by 4:30 on a Friday.
Yeah, you hope so. You hope so. They
I
should
don't
be.
want. So one of the things I don't do is I do not take client appointments. I'll do a podcast recording Friday afternoon, but I will not take a client appointment Friday afternoon unless it's a dire emergency, because
Hmm.
I just find everything I meet about goes out one window ear and comes back out the other one, and it's just like, nah, I don't want to do that. So
I do not do client meetings on Fridays at all, and then they're either a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I alternate or no client
yeah,
meeting days for me. So I try to have 3 days with meetings, and even then, it's not all day. Thursday is an
no,
all
I know.
day meeting day for me. Because I'm in a business group, and so I just roll with it, and that's just basically an all day meeting day for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I have that pretty dialed in, you know.
yeah. And you don't, and you're like me, you don't take meetings on Mondays because we all know on the
You
weekend
know,
things
I have
happen.
changed that. I have changed that. I now take meetings late Monday afternoon. I'll do
Okay.
2 meetings on late Monday afternoon, but not in the middle of the day or
Yeah, yeah.
early. I have too much to do.
Have you ever had a client come back to you and say you're over communicating?
I tend to head that off. I had that happen early on when I was doing a
Yeah,
lot of onboarding emails, like back in the old days. I got a little overzealous with that. And I had one client say, "Could you just send me one big email?" And typically when I onboard somebody, I just ask them, like, "Hey, I have these onboarding emails. You're going to get 5 the first week and then it's going to back off." Okay? Like then I don't want you to be
yeah,
afraid. You're
expectation.
going to get one every day, but I have some information to share with you. These, only a couple require you to do something. Um, but not lately. But I back in the old days when I first started doing my like onboarding sequences, I got a little overzealous. And I try to make my emails as short as possible now. This
Yeah.
is something AI is great at is helping you fine tune your emails that you may have in your email library from a long time ago. And I just say make it shorter and friendlier and, make it something someone will read.
Hmm. Yeah, it's true. It's a tough balance, and I think it's hard. I've even had, and I'll share this with you. I won't mention client. I won't even mention the industry, and he's not a client anymore,
Okay.
so I can share a story. So 4 years ago, I had a client that used to complain and say, "I don't want all these updates," and I very nicely sent him back an email and said, "Here's a copy of the last email." Drew a circle around the unsubscribe box, drew an arrow to the unsubscribe box and said, you can feel free to do this, but if you do, you get no notifications of vacation, downtime, help, anything else. And he chose to go that route. And then when I took 2 weeks vacation and disappeared off to Italy last summer, he screamed that I was on vacation and I didn't tell him. The reason I
Yeah,
didn't tell him was it went out to the
because he
client
made a
email
choice.
list. He made a
Right.
choice. And then he, as a result, didn't renew his contract. And I also have another theory that says you get rid of your worst two customers every year and life is wonderful. But that's,
Mm-hmm.
another story on that one. But the reality of it is that's one of the reasons to stay on somebody you're working with their client newsletter is because they're probably going to tell you when they're away. They tell you when they're not around. They're going to tell you
Mm-hmm.
when they got extra things going on that they can help you with, right? So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have had a couple of clients do that. And if somebody unsubscribed that is on that private client list, I do
yep,
reach out and say like, hey, I saw that you unsubscribed and like it's good to do that because in one instance, she didn't unsubscribe, her VA unsubscribed. And
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
well, they need to resubscribe you or you're not going to know when I'm gone. And she did that, and in some cases, the on the flip side, you got to pay attention to who you've signed up because sometimes a client's employees will leave and a new employee will come on. So I'm always making sure I'm taking care of that list management because
yeah,
if an organization loses my main contact and replaces it with a new one, I need to take care of that in my newsletter list as
yeah.
well. So,
Yeah. And don't you find that sometimes it's funny, we talk about us communicating with organizations. Don't you find they don't communicate well with you all the time? Like I'm dealing with one right now where fortunately one of my main contacts is still there and they've had an entire board upheaval in the last couple of months. And I got to tell you, their web properties and their digital properties are a mess right now. And
right. Well, I noticed there are certain organizations that have a rollover of all their
Yep,
officers every
yep,
single year. And I just kind of make sure that I have it on my calendar that I'm reaching out to the past president to say, like, hey, I'm just reaching out to find out who the new board is so I can get everybody in my newsletter. So,
yeah,
and know the right contacts and my email lists and all of that stuff.
yeah.
But
It's funny,
yes, it happens a lot.
yeah, it's funny. You and I are talking about this like it's second nature, but the reality is there's a lot of people who do what we do that do not do a good job of this. I don't know why.
Well, you have to carve out time. I think especially, and I have been in the place before where I was newer with my business and
Hmm.
just trying to you're trying to do the billable work and you're not thinking about how much time it takes to do the behind the scenes work. And so I
Yeah,
actually have this in my calendar. That's why Friday afternoons are, I'm not doing anybody's work but my own because I need to stay on top of those little things. And I utilize Google Tasks. So let's
mhm,
say I get that email that says, hey, here's the new board for this year. I can make a task out of that, throw it in an admin
yep,
column for that and just I know I eventually have to get to it. And Fridays, I'm just going straight to that admin to-do list and working through as much as I can. I never make it through all of it, but
yeah. What you're
you
doing
know,
that's really smart, Cami, is you're working on the business, not for
yes,
the business. And you know the
yes,
difference. And
exactly.
I've
Yes,
I've talked about
completely.
that on the show all the time. And a lot of people are just chasing. Well, that doesn't do any good long term. I mean, it's a lot easier to keep a current customer than try and develop a new one. You know that. And I know
Hmm. Well, there's nothing wrong with sending them an update that says, hey, I've been working on things, but I'm not at a good stopping point, and I'll touch base with you next week. I think that we get wrapped up in our communication having to finish something. And
Yeah.
and instead of saying like, I only got through like 10 minutes on their project last week. Well, you don't necessarily have to reveal that. You just need to say I made forward progress, but I'm not at a good stopping point. And sending that on a Friday is much more powerful than ignoring it until you get something done. They'd rather hear that you're working on it than not hear from you and wonder what's going on. And I think that that is a big key as well.
Yeah, so true. Do you have any other last minute tips on how to keep in touch with your clients on a regular basis?
Well, I do think whatever you can batch, and if you have an update, a lot of people that don't have a newsletter don't really think about how much time they're spending sending individual emails. If you can get things in some sort of either an email template or an easy way to distribute it, you're just saving yourself time. So
Yeah,
that's my
I
big
would.
tip. Try to save
I,
time.
yeah, I would agree with you. And better still, put it on the calendar, even more so, right? Don't
Put it on
just
the
assume
calendar. Yeah.
just don't assume it's going to get done. Put it on the calendar, find some time, because if you don't do that, you're probably not going to do it in the first place. And then it becomes this, you're laughing
Yeah.
at me, but
No,
this,
I'm not laughing, but give yourself some wiggle room too. It
yeah,
always doesn't have to be 5:42 a.m. It can go
yeah.
out at 11 a.m. As long as you get it out the door that day, you're doing a good job. At
Yeah.
least that's what I tell
And
myself.
no, you're exactly right. I couldn't resist.
I know you
um,
can't.
and where if they haven't got your newsletter, where do people go to get it
It's
again,
it's
Tammy?
it's webdesignerhabits.com.
Yeah, and as I say, go get it. And Tammy's now got a online group as well. You can go follow that as well.
Yeah, Webcami Cafe on Facebook. You just search for it. There's a lot of really nice people who are also web designers. I'm gonna be hanging out with one of my dear friends from the group tomorrow in Tempe, Arizona at PressConf. So,
Awesome, awesome, Tammy. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining me, and always great to catch up with you.
oh, Rob, it's so good to catch up, and someday I'm making it to Toronto. So
Yeah, you'll get here. You have reason to get here, so
we have
you
reason to
you
get there.
you'll get here soon, I'm sure. So have a
All
great day,
right.
and good luck
All
and good
right,
luck
thank
at PressConf.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm sure I'll have a newsletter about that.
Yeah, talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks again to our sponsor, All-in-One WP Migration by ServeMask. Export your entire WordPress site in one click, import it anywhere. No server access needed, no command line, works with every hosting provider. Free on WordPress.org or extension at servemask.com. A very special thank you to Kemi for joining this edition of the SDM show. The SDM show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.